1460 WVOX.
Stay tuned now for the Racing for Heroes radio show with host Brett Morash on 1460 WVOX.
All right, hey, Racing for Heroes fans, it's Brett Morash. We are back here on 1460 AM, worldwide WVOX.com. It is May 20th, and we have some fantastic guests on today. Our first guest is Brett Dysart of the Carolina Outlaws Super Street Series. Brett is the owner of Korbana Customs, spelled with a K, and he started out racing in 1991. Started with dirt track. We're going to talk about all this. And then now he is currently the Carolina Outlaws Super Street Series technical chief and the crew chief for a Blue Ridge Outlaw late model team. So without further ado, I'm going to have the better looking Brett on. Of course, for those of you out on the radio can't tell that, but I'm sure Brett's a better looking guy than I am. So, hey, how's it going, my friend?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing.
Thanks for having me.
No, listen, thanks for being here. We're like super excited. And I know JD, his dad is not doing well, so you're filling in a pinch, but you're an awesome guest regardless. So we're just so happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell us about being technical chief for Carolina Outlaws Super Street Series.
We're just trying to save the Super Street class in this area. We had some issues with it. It was trying to go away, and racetracks weren't wanting to run them. So we started this series last year.
2 years ago.
Last year. 2 years ago?
Yeah,
2 years ago?
Sure,
okay.
Yeah.
2 years ago, and it's been doing good. We've been averaging about 13, 14 cars, trying to build it. This year we've added we're trying to bring back some of the old school wedge bodies with the big sideboards and that kind of stuff. We're trying to give ourselves a little niche. Yeah.
So why don't you explain to the listeners, like, what is a Super Street Series? Because I think that's the part where I think I'm always a little confused. Is like, is that the type of racing that's like basically a basic car, like that's converted for racing?
No, it's in between. It's in between a street stock and a late model.
Uh-huh.
We use a stock front clip off of a Camaro or a Monte Carlo or something like that, and then the back half of the car is all tube frame.
Oh, tube built. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
but it sounds like the price of entry is not particularly prohibitive either.
No, I mean it's a little bit more expensive than a street stock, but a little bit less expensive than a late model. So it's right in the middle.
Okay. And, and why do you think that the racetracks were not really looking at that series anymore? And listen, and this is all credited to JD. I mean, if it wasn't for JD, we wouldn't be talking right now.
Yes. Yeah. That's why I jumped on board and decided to help JD, because I agreed with what he was doing. The class it lost cars, and our group is working class racers.
Mm-hmm.
So the money issue, sometimes trying to get to the racetrack week to week is a little tough. So our schedule, we've opened up the schedule. We'll run this weekend, and then we'll take the whole month of June off.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and run 2 races in July. So it gives them a little bit of a break. They're not trying to run every week. So I think that's why we were able to get more cars by running less often.
Yeah, gotcha. No, that makes a lot of sense. And before we move on to kind of talking about like your racing, if people are interested in Carolina Outlaw Super Street Series, where should they go to look?
We've got a Facebook page currently. We're trying to set up a website. Haven't gotten that taken care of yet, but Facebook, Carolina Outlaw Super Street Series, I think. Yeah.
Okay, roger that. Okay, and we'll put that out after the show. Hey, so let's talk about your racing though. So you're in my mind, you're a young guy. You started racing in 1991. Started with road racing. So tell us about that.
Yes. Yeah. I was born in Wisconsin. Grew up in Illinois, but road racing was big up there, and we rode quite a few years. No money in it. You were racing for a trophy.
Right.
Not that we get rich in circle track racing, but at least you get a little bit of it back. It helps pay for the fuel and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but because I was looking at your Facebook page, you got a yellow Mustang. I saw it was on there.
That's my drift car.
That's what I thought.
In 2010, I was involved in a crash. I have a steel plate in my neck, so I can't compete at the circle track level anymore. We got to looking at this drift car stuff, and it was one car on the track, maybe two when you do a tandem. And I said, well, I think I can do that. So,
well, my son wasn't pressed, so he thought that was a great car.
Yeah, we're going this weekend. MB Drift is at Rockingham.
Oh, wow.
Their sun's out, guns out. It's actually their military weekend. If you wear your uniform, you get in for free. Military ID gets in half price. So.
And that's at Rockingham Speedway, right?
That's at Rockingham Speedway, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I wish I was down there this weekend. How's that?
Yeah. It's a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah. Now, on that car, so that's a rear-wheel drive car, though, right?
Yes.
So, and because I think that when it comes to drifting, I mean, that's a completely different sort of racing, right?
I was amazed at how much, like you said, my background, I came from road racing, circle track. The first time I went drifting, I was amazed at how difficult it was. It took a learning curve for sure, but I'm having fun.
Well, so I live up in New York, as you know, and we have a little bit of the drifting stuff around here.
Okay.
Usually I'm watching them driving like WRXs and stuff like that, but
yeah.
But your car though with the rear wheel drive, that's a little bit different of a feel for that car, right?
Yeah, most all of them are rear wheel drive.
Yeah.
Most of the Subarus that set up for drifting, they take the front axles out of them.
Oh, see, I did not know that. I did not know
that.
My son's into drifting. I'm sure he would be rolling his eyes like, Dad, you're supposed to know that. But, no, that's funny. That's funny. So, go ahead.
It's a lot of fun. It really is at the amateur level. Every drifting event I've been to, they welcome you like family. It's a really good scene. It gets a bad rap sometimes, but it's a really good scene.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Hey, so let's tell us a little bit about the Blue Ridge Outlaw late model team.
Oh, we have a car owner. We have a 2-car team. The car owner drives one car. My brother drives the other car. The Blue Ridge Outlaw late models, they run all over the Southeast. We were at Sumter, South Carolina last weekend.
Oh yeah, good track.
We're off this weekend, and then we'll be at Harris Speedway, which is over in Charlotte next weekend. We go Virginia. Sumter is about as far south as we go. We'll go to Beckley, West Virginia, and then Tri-County Speedway in Brasstown.
Okay.
We'll go. That's as far west as we'll go, which is pretty far west.
Yeah. No, that's great. And is that a regular late model or is it outlaw car?
It's an outlaw car. That's kind of where I got the idea for the wedge for the Super Street, because the Blue Ridge Outlaws, they run a side spoiler.
Yeah.
You take the roof off and you run a side spoiler on the side of the car, and that's where I got the idea. Was something a little bit different.
No, I think that's kind of cool because we were talking a couple of weeks ago to Willie Reinauer of 316 Motorsports, and they're making the Legends cars, but they also do Outlaws as well. Okay. So it was kind of neat to watch it. And I grew up as a kid watching Outlaws up in Massachusetts, so I really like the type of racing that comes with that. And people don't realize like how big a deal that side spoiler is to really kind of set the car up as it's going into those turns.
Oh yeah. Yep. Air is big.
Well, because they're such light cars. I mean, like those cars are not very heavy at the end of the day for the amount of horsepower that they're putting down into the track.
Right. Yes.
So, so one last question about Super Street Series here, Brett. Is this Hoosier tire thing causing you guys mayhem too, or is it really? It is.
We've opened our tire rule was pretty much open. We could run American racers or Hoosiers. Mm-hmm. The Hoosier is a better tire. We won't argue that, but we're allowed to run both. So we're just kind of letting it play itself out.
Yeah, well, I don't know when it's going to get fixed. I mean, because I've been watching more and more of, our racer friends, just they're stuck because they cannot get any replacement tires.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to get them and they're expensive.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. All right. Hey, listen, but before we start talking to our next guest, the question I have for you is, who are your sponsors? Like, who do you want to give a little shout out to?
Don't really have any. We kind of do it out of pocket. The Super Streets have got Green Hill Electric and Bees Heating and Air. For us, we've got Maxima Racing Oil, American Racer Tires. They help us out a bunch on the Blue Ridge.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And Brett, I'm so sorry. Before we bring on Mark, let's talk about your company, Korbana Customs.
Yeah, it's just a small restoration shop. It's a one-man operation. I take on what I can take on and try and make a living.
Well, what was your favorite build?
Probably the 67 Chevelle.
Oh man, that's an awesome car.
Yeah.
That's what. In fact,
sure.
Even the sound engineers were bouncing their head up and down. They thought that lots of thumbs up behind the glass.
Oh yeah, they got it. They got it right. They got it right when they did that car.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, Brett, I just do want to thank you again for being on the show, and I'll catch up with JD here again shortly. So, listen, thanks, my friend. Talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Brett. All right.
You too.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is another friend of JD Gunther's, but he was born here in New York. He was born, grew up as a little kid. He was born in the Bronx and then moved to Portchester, graduated from Portchester High School in 1990. It is Mark Anthony Price, and he is the owner of RPM Speed Machine, Wilmington, North Carolina. He sent me his biography, but he's so humble. I mean, this is a guy who's making race car engines for Top Fuel dragsters. And so if you know anything about what those cars can do, I mean, like, this is just an incredible skill set to have out there. So, Mark, are you on the line, brother?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Listen, and I'm so happy to have another Westchester County guy on the radio.
Yeah.
But you've been gone a long time, though. You've been gone a little while. So, but yeah. So I was looking at your bio. So, but I think that this is like really cool. So you started by meeting this guy named Richard Hennessy, right?
Yeah, basically, I'm a third generation machinist. Both my granddads, before they went into World War II, were machinists. One worked at the Thompson Machine Gun Factory in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Oh, that's cool.
And the other one worked for Bullard's, which was down in Stamford at the time. Both of them Navy veterans, and then my old man, Vietnam veteran. He was a machinist before he went to Vietnam, and then unfortunately, I didn't do my service. I always been a little disappointed that I didn't, but got so involved with racing, and the years went by so fast.
Yeah.
I missed my call.
Yeah, no. Listen, and but I appreciate that you're supporting the Super Street series, because in reality, that's a Race for Heroes series as well. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're super happy about that. But you started out and I think that this is one of those things that all the kids out there listening, they're getting ready to graduate from New Rochelle High School or wherever. You didn't go to college. You went and you were an entrepreneur, and at 18 years old, you got your grandmother to kick you 10K, and you became an entrepreneur race shop owner.
I did. She had a little bank account from when I was a child, to help with my college funds. And like you said, graduated from Portchester High School, and always messed with cars. And I had a little shop at home doing cylinder heads. I started doing cylinder heads with an old raggedy valve grinder that my dad gave me when I was 14. And used to port heads for some of the kids that were older than me in high school that wanted, to go a little faster. I was always intrigued by that. And worked at a couple local machine shops while I was in high school. I worked, which is now defunct. It was a Speed Parts Center in Elmsford, New York.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were they were an old engine build shop. Bobby Lagana, the Twilight Zone, Top Fuel Dragster. He used to run out of there. So I got to, I was right in that era where I got to meet a lot of guys. But anyway, on to finishing high school and applied, parents were like, you should, take a mechanical engineering course, and applied at a couple colleges, got accepted. And I was like, man, I just want to go to work now. And came across a friend of a friend that introduced me to Richard Hennessy, who at the time was probably in his late 60s. And he used to build engines. Remember the midget racers? They used to run at the Danbury Fair. Right.
Well, I used to go to Riverside up in Massachusetts, so they used to have them up there too.
Right. So he specialized in the Offenhauser 4-cylinder engine, which I knew nothing about, but the equipment was rather general. A bore and bar, a honing machine, and so forth. So we kind of hit it off, and he had diabetes and he lost his eyesight. And I used to go check in on him, and he just said one day, he said, Mark, he said, why don't you take over this shop? And I said, well, Richard, I don't, I work in a machine shop. I don't know if I'm ready to open up my own shop. He's like, I'm telling you, he said, you could do it.
And you're a kid at this point, right? Like you're 18 years old kid.
I'm 18 years old, you know? So, and I talked to my dad about it at first, because my dad, I grew up in his machine shop. He had a manufacturing shop in Stamford, Connecticut. Didn't do nothing to do with engines. He was, military defense, worked for like Raytheon and Electric Boat up in Connecticut and so forth. But anyway, I told him what I wanted to do, and I said, well, I don't really want to make parts, Dad. I want to build engines. I want to, make parts for engines and make cars go fast, so forth. He was on board, and he said, well, talk to your grandmother. And my grandma said, if you're not going to go to college, he said, here it is. God bless, and that's kind of where it all started.
That's really cool. But that shop was up in Connecticut, though, right? Up in Stamford, right? You eventually moved down to the Carolinas.
Actually, okay, so I was right off of Connor Street in the Bronx, because at that time I was 18, and rent was expensive, and I was looking for something.
Wait, is that down Hunts Point?
Economical.
Was that down Hunts? Was that in Hunts Point?
It wasn't a Hunts Point. Yeah. I was off of Connor Street, like right when you get into the Bronx. Like, if you're going into Connor Street, Co-op City would be on the left and Connor Street on the right.
Oh, okay. So, gotcha.
I was back there in a little dumpy, 700 square foot building with razor wire all around it. And, and did that for a couple of years. And at the time, my parents.
Oh, right next to the Hutchinson River Parkway, right where the bus depot is.
Exactly.
Oh, man, that's super industrial. I love it.
Sure. Especially a lot of customers, on a Friday and Saturday night. You remember they raced right on the hutch, right under the bridge there.
That's right. They still do. 2 in the morning. No, I live right near the hutch, and at 2 in the morning on Saturday and Sunday. It's like
so that. You remember all that? Yeah. Right,
well, I'm down City Island all the time, so you probably remember City Island, not too far from where you were. Yeah. So
a buddy might keep his boat down. What's that? McMichael's down there?
It's still there.
Marina.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. So anyway, I started out down there and had a shop down there for I guess about a year and a half. A year prior to that, my parents decided they wanted to get out of New York, the high taxes and all that, unfortunately. And they moved to Carolinas, and they moved to Wilmington. And, we're a small family. I had a younger brother, and, I would go down there and visit. And I said, and the movie Days of Thunder just came out. And I watched that movie, and I was like, wow, this could be cool. If that's how the Carolinas is, this is where I want to be.
Right.
And so I made the move and brought my little shop down to Wilmington. And at the time, I had another high school buddy that was semi-partners with me in the shop. And we brought all the equipment down. And at the last minute, his girlfriend at the time decided that she didn't want to leave her family. So he said, hey, man, sorry, you're on your own. So I got down here, and awesome. It was a little culture shock for a little bit.
Well, you were definitely a Yankee going down there.
Yeah, they still classify me as that when I go to the dirt track. I've been here, 30 years, but I'm still a Yankee. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
No, listen, I get it all the time. But I always think when they call me Yankee, I grew up in Massachusetts, so it just wasn't a thing. But it was. I always think of Last of the Mohicans when Magua was calling Daniel Natty Bumpo his character Yankee, and he's like, "Hey, Yankee," it's like, so like, that's how I think in my head. So I'm like,
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Daddy Bumper was badass, man. Like that guy was awesome. So, but anyway, yeah. So let's, but keep going. So like, how'd you get into Top Fuel dragsters? I mean, like, that's not just anyone can do that.
Yeah, I don't want, when you say Top Fuel dragsters. So anyway, growing up in the Northeast around my dad raced early on. You know, I grew up in a drag racing environment. My dad raced in the earliest years of pro stock. You know, during the infancy of pro stock, back when they still had, you know, cars that resembled cars. This is back in the early 70s, sure. And he raced with the likes of, you know, Jenkins and Glidden and Shafroff. So, you know, I was a product of everywhere my dad went as a little kid. I was kind of a daddy's boy. I always wanted to go wherever he went. I went. Sure. He took me. You know, from Moroso's when they had their first retail store in Greenwich. You know, they have pictures of me. You know, 1.5 years old, sitting up on the counter.
That's funny.
As he got out of, you know, as family duties called, he got out of racing in like 77. So I was still really young, but it left an indelible, you know, image on my brain that, you know, this is what I wanted to do. So growing up, my dad kept in touch with a lot of his friends, the Terenzio brothers, who were probably some of the more successful in the New York, Connecticut area. They ran blown alcohol, funny cars. You know, they started out with alters or originally with the gassers, with the Willies, and then, you know, went into the altered and then went into the funny car. So that always, you know, left an impression on me, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. So at the time, once I went from door cars into dragsters, they were running a class which was called Nostalgia Top Fuel.
Yeah. I kind of remember that.
Yeah, so I went into that, and we built some early Hemis, and we had it in an altered, and then later on, you know, went to just alcohol, you know, to an alcohol dragster, and we ran a top gas dragster and then an alcohol dragster, and I'm moving fast, but that's kind of what I did up until I made the transition back to circle track racing.
Gotcha, and that's where you are now, right? Like that's why you're involved with JD.
Yeah, I met JD. You know, I started off circle track racing as a child running go-karts. You know, we ran up at Middletown, New York, up at Cuttyback Hill and in Norwalk at the beach. And, you know, but the mechanical aspect always intrigued me just as much as driving, you know, and to this day, you know, still not much of a driver, but I get just as much out of it as you know, building my own motors, putting my own cars together, and then going out there and driving. And, you know, I've had a lot of guys come to me because, you know, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm, you know, 49 years old. Right. And
I'm 80, class 89 high school. So I just turned 50. So I was guessing we were close. Yeah.
So they say, you know, man, you know, why don't you put a young guy in the car, you know, fearless, and let him drive. And I said, you know, if I can't drive it into the wall, that's not going to be any fun. I don't want to watch somebody else drive it into the wall. You know, and
right. Right. That's
probably
awesome.
In the end, I'll write a book. You know, 10,001 ways. You know how to go broke.
Well, JD wants me to let you work on my 2 GM20 diesel engine in my sailboat to make it go faster. It's like a whopping 18 horsepower. But I did rebuild the injectors this winter, and it's working really well right now. But yeah, no, that's awesome. Hey, so we are kind of getting towards the back end of the show. Tell us a little bit about your shop, and if people are interested in learning a little bit more about RPM Speed Machine, what do they do?
RPM Speed Machine, you know, we started out as a basic automotive machine shop, which branched out in the CNC. I had some background in manufacturing. Right now, pushing more the manufacturing, as a lot of the parts and components are going overseas, and we're having a hard time, you know, supply and demand, you know, in this country. We're producing our own line of valve train components. We're building lifters. Oh, sure. Performance lifters for camshafts, but besides that, you know, we're still building motors. I mean, from everything, I did a 4-cylinder Perkins diesel for a sailboat 2 months ago down in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice engine.
Yeah. So from that to you know, open wheel modified engines, drag race engines, you know, anything in between. I'm a gearhead, you know, through and through, and we'll pretty much, cover the gamut as far as, machining and engine building.
That's good.
Hopefully the manufacturing is going to take off. I'm actually talking with Rick Moroso, Dick Moroso's son, just passed away, and they're talking about carrying our lifters towards the summer.
Oh,
so
well,
really
congratulations.
that.
Yeah, well, put that out in the universe for karma purposes at a minimum. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'll definitely have to talk to you about my engine. It was like a 1980s build. Runs fine, it just, but it's like a tractor engine inside of a boat is basically what it is.
That's right. Well, we got to keep you, running good when you make that trip to Block Island and back. We want to, we don't want Jaws tailing you.
Well, actually, the big trip, we're going through Hellgate here for Father's Day and back is the game plan. So, I got to make sure that thing's working because, you break down Hellgate, man, you're in for a wild ride.
Be careful when the tide changes through there.
You bet. I like going through it at full current because you get through it pretty quick. But no, well, listen, I want to thank you again. I'm sure we could talk for another half hour, but it's the end of the show. So thank you for being there, and look forward to catching up again soon.
All right. Thank you. God bless.
Awesome. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, we will be back in 2 weeks. We're going to take next week off, but Racing for Heroes will be out in Wheatland, Missouri again at the Lucas Oil Speedway. We are going to be their featured racing nonprofit. So check out MAV TV Plus if you're out there. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with the real Doug Lane a little further down the road.